folks, we are live for another round after 1 week off. So we're still going back here to our wonderful scaled up vendors. Another one of our wonderful scaled up sponsors here, Wisconsin's very own Wally from Supreme Gecko.
Nick, how's it going? I was jamming to the tunes, man. I wasn't ready for the show to start. I wanted like 5 more minutes to just sit back, relax, and jam away. So I'm kind of chill right now.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I think how's everyone going here? I'm already seeing comments that people are mad because it's 8:01. I apologize for the 1 minute late, the 1 minute of suspense. You have to understand that Wally is that big. It's like the Blackhawks getting the #1 pick in the NHL draft.
Yeah. So I'm watching the Bulls NBA, and they have a 1 in 100 chance to get into the top pick there. And I'm thinking, well, the Blackhawks are #1. They got the #1 pick. So the Bulls have to, and very first, they're gone. Out of the lottery. They're gone.
Yeah. No, right. I mean, that's just how it always ends up happening.
Always.
But, obviously, I feel like, back even, right before I even started going to shows and vending and stuff, I felt like you were one of the people I know that like was just already kind of like known, like in my region, like Northern Illinois, like Wisconsin area. It was like everyone knew Wally. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Wally. And I always be like, who's Wally? And like, you don't know who Wally is? Like, that's Supreme Gecko. So I think it's really unique. Obviously you have like this reputation, stuff like that follows you with your brand, which I think has been really unique. And I think it's just, kind of curious, obviously, kind of what was that story? What got you from, person who enjoys reptiles to keeping reptiles to I'm now Supreme Gecko?
Oh my gosh. I don't look at myself that way whatsoever. To be very, very honest, I just wanted to say, Rachel, you should be watching this and you should be folding clothes. So get to it. Get those clothes folded. I don't look at myself as anybody different than, anybody else in the hobby. I love shows. I love working with animals. I love selling online, setting up a web page, setting up information online. I love getting questions through Facebook or Instagram. I don't like getting questions through Instagram because I'm not as attentive on Instagram. So I'm getting questions on YouTube, any social media. I like getting questions. So I think it's a matter of staying in two things, if I may. If anything is built, the reputation of Supreme Gecko as being, kind of a customer service, customer focused company, business, I would say two things. Number one, I have a passion. There's not a time that, and I'll have bad days, Monday and Tuesday were bad days for me because I was so busy with other things. I'll have bad days where it's like, I don't want to do this and I've got to go down and I've got to clean gecko poop. But most of the time, 99% of the time, I love working with the geckos. I cannot wait to get down there and check for eggs or feed or clean poop or scrape glass or anything like that. So passion is number one. And number two is I like to be in contact with the community. So I have a kind of a rule for myself, and I try to convey this to other people too. If you're, we're not in it to just sell animals. We're here to help people. We're here to build the community. So if somebody contacts me with a serious question, hey, where's my order? Or my gecko doesn't look good. I think it's not eating or something like that. I try to, this is going to sound crazy, but within an hour, unless I'm down and my hands are, dirty with gecko stuff, within an hour, I'm answering that person. If it's, I wouldn't say emergency, but if it's mission critical, I'm contacting that person within an hour. If it's, what would you suggest for hide material for crested geckos? Then I try to answer that within a day. In fact, on YouTube, I make that real public that if you put a question out there on YouTube, I'm going to answer it within a day. And I'm probably 98% there. I just like to, build that community. And I want people to know that, when I answer something, it's 100%, 1,000% non-judgmental. We've all done things wrong. We've all been there for the first time in anything that we've done with everything. So
No, right.
I try to build, Supreme Gecko.
Yeah, no, I think that that's one of those things, when you look at a company, I think that's the thing, I think a lot of people in the reptile industry as well. I mean, they always think about like, if you're a ball python breeder, well, I have to look at this ball python breeder. If I'm a gecko breeder, I have to look at this gecko breeder. And I mean, when I started, obviously, even like just going in and saying, okay, I've got to start branding, I've got to start building, where are places to map and stuff. I mean, I think, like I said, that's the one thing I think with, with your brand is, like I said, it's the consistency, across everything, just how it's branded, the customer service with it, the way that you work with the animals, the way that you explain things. There's a consistency and approach to it. And like, that's one of the things I know for me, like I said, I just want to highlight to everyone out there, if there's anyone that's, newer and younger and like looking to get in the hobby, looking to build their brand. I know Gary's going to probably sue me here for using his build his brand phase, but, I think that that's a big thing, is that level of consistency. I mean, because you work with, I forget how many different gecko species, and then that's not counting all the different isopod species and the dry goods, but I don't think it matters which species it is or what isopod it is. It's the consistency as far as how the content's delivered, the customer service, the brand, everything. And I think that that's very unique. You don't see that, at all the, breeders and vendors and stuff always. So I think that that's just, from my perspective, hats off to you.
Well, thank you very much. And welcome, Nanette. Thanks for joining us. Nick was asking what makes Supreme Gecko different. And again, I don't think that I think there's a lot of great companies, a lot of great gecko reptile businesses out there. I don't see ourselves as being very different. It's something that is just, at this point, is just more of an expectation from me than anything. Again, I have set in my mind, a certain time period where I need to contact people, because it's, they're coming to me asking me questions. So it's taking their time to put something down, on a message or whatever. And if they're putting that time in, the least that I can do is get back to them and give them a reasonable answer. Now, I went through this about 10, 12 years ago about creating videos to promote the business, but also to answer questions. Here's how you do this. So I dropped it for about 8 years and then picked it up about 3 or 4 years ago with that as, my intent. I'll just make a video. Then I don't have to answer all these questions about what do you feed crested geckos. So somebody will, have a video out there. Here's how you create a hide for crested geckos. And then somebody will ask me, how do you create a hide for crested geckos? So it's like, I should just take that link and post or copy it into their message as a reply.
Right.
So what I'll do is I'll go through in my experience, I've done this and I've done this, and all of a sudden it's a paragraph long. And then it's, oh, by the way, you could go out and watch this video kind of as more information if you'd like.
Yeah. I mean, and my thing is, obviously you work with so many different species, it's not like it's just, one gecko species. Do you have a favorite out of the ones? Is it Cresties? Is it Leos? Is it the ocelots?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been asked this before, and I always struggle with it because in my mind, I'm going through maybe the geckos that I don't own yet or have owned and worked with in the past. But actually, I've worked with this animal a couple of times. I've had it. I haven't had it. I've had it, and I'm still working on the genes and the traits and the morphs and everything. It's Periodora picta. So
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like, exactly. I don't know. I don't know why that kind of slips my mind for a while, but Periodora picta is just a small gecko, only about 3.5, 4 inches long, big eyes, nocturnal, very handleable, very easy to keep, very easy to breed, almost too easy to breed.
Right.
And just a plethora of different morphs and traits. And, it's like pulling out one of those, how many crayons in the big box? Like 256? 64. I'm talking about the jumbo, or is that the jumbo?
The jumbo.
So it's like pulling one of those out and just throwing it on the table and going, okay, I'll pick this color and see what happens with it. So from a sales and a reptile show, an animal I can bring out and let little kids and parents hold, it's just the perfect animal.
Yeah.
From a selfish breeder standpoint, and I'm working on that morph that's so important. And when I hit it, it's just going to feel so good. that's why I'm working with Period or Picta as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think the other thing too is obviously you have your own isopod line, your isopod chow. Was that part of like you were working with geckos and you said, "Hey, I want to go bioactive," and is that why the isopod part started? Or I guess how did that piece go into? Because at one point, I mean, you were known as the pod father, correct?
I am the Podfather.
I remember the shirts.
Somebody got offended by that and messaged me. I think it was public on YouTube or on Facebook, and they said, "You're not the Podfather." I think the screen froze there.
Okay.
They said, "You're not the Podfather. This person works with so many others, and this person has introduced this." And I was like, "It's a flipping joke. Somebody knows that I like The Godfather, favorite movie." Yeah. And I work with isopods, and they combined it once, and we're going to call you the Podfather. I was, oh, that's cool. So for one person, I made that shirt. I don't think we have a dozen made, but
we have one left.
So somebody kind of took offense to it, and I messaged them personally, and I said, I hope there's no offense, because I have the greatest respect for them, and they're worlds ahead of where I am. So, but your question, as I ramble on and on, your question is what got me into don't say squirrel. What got me into isopods is, this is kind of interesting. Worked with geckos until about, I worked with geckos forever, but about 8 years ago, I got into a project at work that took 70 to 80 hours a week of my time. And it was just a focus for a couple of years. And Nanette did all the gecko stuff. And at the end of that, you did as good as you could do, as anybody could do. At the end of that project, I left the company. I just left the company, and I debated going back to work at another company, and I just decided to retire.
Yeah. At
that time, the geckos had not really been moved forward for a couple of years. So I had to get them rolling again. Yeah. I knew it'd take a year of conditioning and a year of maybe some lays and not many eggs. So I'm looking at, maybe 2 to 3 years down the line of starting to get some gecko eggs and see something happening down there. And I'm not a patient person, so I wanted something going that I can look at right now and see babies and see moving forward, things like that. So a good friend of mine, Ryan McVeigh, gave me Porcilio Hoffman Segi. They're the ones that are about this big. No, they're gave me them a couple of months later. They were breeding. I had little babies. It's like, oh, this is pretty cool stuff. So it went from 2 or 3 cultures to 5 to 10. And it was just like every day was another couple of cultures. And I ultimately got up to about, I don't know, 150 containers of isopods.
Holy.
But during that,
you don't do anything small ever.
I don't do anything small.
He does everything supreme.
Everything supreme, man. It has to be. So built up this collection, and so isopods building up and geckos kind of catching up, but isopods, and then all of a sudden geckos started catching up and surpassing the isopods as far as, and my love is geckos, and I love isopods too, but geckos are where my heart is. So in the last year or so, I've kind of gone down a little bit with isopods. I've had to narrow down my collection from 150 containers to, I think we're down to 50 right now, which still takes a lot of work and a lot of, preparation and moving and feeding and cleaning and getting the dwarf whites out of there and all kinds of stuff.
And I mean, do you produce, for all your geckos, do you produce all your own feeders then too on top of that?
We don't.
Okay, I was gonna say, man, that would be you got isopods, you got all the different geckos, and then you're doing all the feeders on top of it. Oof.
We have a room about this big, and we have how many containers of dubias, Nanette?
12
containers of dubias. We have a couple of containers breeding groups. We have a couple of containers of mealworms. All of that is kind of the just in case feeders. So we bring in about, if you know the numbers, let me know, because I kind of am
bringing about 40,000 mealworms a month.
About 40,000 mealworms a month. We bring in 10, 12, 15,000 crickets a month, and miscellaneous black soldier flies and stuff like that. But my room is for oh my gosh, it's the middle of winter and I can't get feeders in for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I have to have something. I have to have something in there to feed the geckos. I don't ever want to have the situation where we don't have something to feed. So
Right.
we feed a lot of dubias, but all of that food in the bug room is more as a backup than anything.
Yeah.
But it still takes, Nanette does the bug room stuff, and it takes her probably an hour to a week, about an hour a week.
Yeah.
I'm a little quicker than you.
Yeah, you're a lot quicker than me. It's no contest.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, passion projects. I mean, is there, I know we talked a little bit about the Pictas and stuff. I mean, is there either like a new species you just got recently, or you're rounding the wagons into looking to get or to grab to be kind of the next endeavor for Supreme Geckos? Or is that top secret?
No, oh gosh, no. There, I have a friend that keeps saying, what are your secrets? What's going on at Supreme Gecko? You're not telling anybody. And if I haven't told somebody about something, it's just because I'm neglectful or lazy, or I like to do videos on geckos after we receive. I'll do an unboxing and show off the geckos, but then I don't do anything with videos on geckos until they start breeding, because that's when I feel like I'm, kind of getting over that hurdle and I'm really being successful with the animals. A week or two or a month or a year of keeping them isn't success. It's getting eggs and getting the eggs to hatch, which is a success. But I really don't have any secrets. But as far as projects, it seems like seasonally I'll go from one project to the next. For a long time, it was micro geckos, just a little teeny tiny inch and a half, 2 inches. For a long time, I was building up my gargoyles, crested gecko cousins. For a long time, I was doing the velvet geckos, and I'm still doing all of those. Right now, I would have to say I'm building up my Australians, my knobtails. We're working with Levis, Wheeler Eye. Oh gosh, I just got 2 Levis in that are just unbelievable.
And for guys like me that we don't know all the wonderful Latin names and stuff for all the geckos, Levis, common name.
Nephurus levis, I don't
if it has one.
The smooth tail knobtail.
Okay.
It's one of the smooth knobtails, I should say. They only get to be about 4 inches, and they have these literally a little knob, a little ball at the end of their tail. So when they hunt or they get excited or they're mating, their little balls kind of shake and go around. It's pretty cool. Kind of like a leopard gecko raises its tail when it's ready to eat.
Right.
Knobtails have that little tail knob on their tail and move them around.
So I got to know here, because I've seen it a few times with the waffles here. What's going on with the waffles? Is there an inside joke here?
Frank is hungry again.
No, it's just Frank being hungry.
Okay, I wasn't sure if maybe there's like a gecko named Waffles or something.
Waffles. So Waffles is kind of an inside joke to the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas, and actually, and it was something that everybody started saying in some of the chats. I'm hungry. I have waffles. I think Frank started it, if I'm going to say anything. So during the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas, we had a scavenger hunt, and I took a picture of an elf on the shelf, but we called the elf Waffles.
Okay.
And Waffles was put on a couple of the donors' pages, and people had to find hidden on pages, websites, and people had to find Waffles. So the notoriety became, more and more during the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. So every chat that I'm in, somebody has to say something about Waffles. That's fun. I love it.
And you mentioned it, so I got to bring it up now. I mean, every year you do the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. I mean, for anyone that's on here that doesn't know about it, I mean, what does that entail? What does that mean for a consumer perspective? What's that impact for them?
It's a big job.
In just a couple of words, we started about 12 years ago, and I donated 12 gifts, and we gave out a gift every other day for the 12 days of Christmas, starting at the end of November all the way through December 23rd. We didn't jump into Christmas, tried to keep away from the holiday. So every other day I donated something like a set of dishes, it eventually got up to the 12th gift, which was at that time, 12 years ago, was like $100 gift or $200 gift certificate to Supreme Gecko.
Yeah.
Over the years, we had people asking to donate gifts to the 12th Supreme. So the second, third year, we doubled it and then doubled it again and then quadrupled it until this year. We got up to $32,000 in donations, be it animals or reptile supplies. We had
Insane.
several different animals valued over $1,000 being donated to the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. And I don't, in my heart, I don't believe anybody donating did it for the fact of advertising their business. Although I try to promote businesses as much as possible with the website for the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas and highlighting and doing short videos during the event. But I think everybody was just like, I want to donate something. And it's grown and grown. Every year I keep saying, gosh, if we can just do half as much as what we did last year. And then, we do 50% more.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of crazy. It's crazy how this thing has grown and grown and grown. It takes a lot of time. So I start the event, I start organizing back, all the way back to August, September-ish. And then by November, we're getting all the donations in so that at the end of November, we're actually putting together the schedule of every day that we're doing the donations.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes we have, 10 gifts. I think one day we had 40 gifts that we gave away in the middle of the event.
Nuts.
It's a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
Sandra put in there also. There's lots of surprises along the way too. We'll just
Lots
kind
of
of
surprises.
throw something extra in.
Yeah.
And they're singing.
Yeah.
Not next year.
And I think that's a huge thing. I think I just want to highlight too as well. Is obviously while there's so many people who, we love reptiles, we love breeding reptiles, we like working with reptiles. That impact that you're doing is going beyond reptiles, at that point. And I think that's a huge thing. I think as far as showing, if there is anyone that's watching, whether that be today or later, see that even if you're not a member of the reptile community today or right now, how that impact is really being felt, by that type of give back. I think that's just a really, huge, monumental effort, but at the same time, it's just something that's, really nice and thoughtful that I think that, not everyone really, thinks about doing. We all say that we want to do something like that, but it takes the right kind of person to put all that time, all that effort in to do that. So, from my side, I appreciate that. That's hats off to you again. That's a lot of hard work that goes into that. And, I'm sure that everyone that, be able to, feel the effects of that, that's always something nice to have around the holidays.
It's a way to promote the donors. Obviously, it's a way to get gifts into the hands of the reptile community. Above and beyond. It's so enlightening and emotional for me when I go on Facebook and I see Jill talking to Susan. It has nothing at all to do with the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas, but I know that they met in the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas and they've developed this relationship outside of this giveaway. Yeah. And they're talking about, oh, well, here's what you want to do when you have a situation like this. And they're, conversing about helping each other. And I think that that's what we need. Obviously we need more of that in any part of our lives, but I feel proud of, if anything else, the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas has brought together these pockets of people with the same interests, be it snakes or geckos or, whatever it is. So,
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. Obviously, we saw DNA Reptilia right there. That's again another one of our scaled up vendors, another Wisconsin staple breeder. But like you said, not geckos. He does, a lot of ball python work and ball python breeding and does that. And that's what he's known for. But again, it's showing how that community goes together. And I don't want to go jump on my pedestal here, obviously with everything that's been going on. But you see so many people, slinging mud back and forth at things. And I think, again, that's just another reason I wanted to highlight that, is just because it doesn't matter if you're breeding geckos, tortoises, iguanas, leopard geckos, there's a common goal, there's a common effort, there's a common good that's getting back into it. There's a way that you can make friends. People have been joking with me on the podcast. They say, why do you have so many gecko people coming on? And I said, because I've met more gecko people in the last year and a half than I have snake people, and I think that again, is just, another part of the hobby, diversifying your learning, even if you're not looking to keep geckos doesn't mean that you can't learn something, take something from that business. So I think that, like I said, that's a really, just kind of, unique thing, that you do. And I think that kind of peels into that next piece with community, which is, Wisconsin, I've been very impressed with as someone who's, 8 miles south of the border. The reptile community is, very, very tight knit, I would say, both vendors, customers, keepers, enthusiasts to, even the people that I've got one pet snake that, sits here, or I've got one gecko or one bearded dragon. What do you think, obviously that impact has been with shows like Scaled Up, kind of how that's helped to develop that. Obviously, you sponsor the shows, you're one of those nice staples to have at the show all the time. Kind of, what do you think that impact's been, to Wisconsin, to that reptile community across the state?
I think if anything, and I know that you've had guests on in the past episodes that have said this exact same thing. So, but it bears repeating. Yeah. If anything, it shows these good people, especially in the Scaled Up community, an example.
Right.
Well, we do the shows and we'll sell geckos. We'll sell geckos and isopods. And somebody will walk up and say, I like your leopard geckos, but I don't see, do you work with this? And I'll go, I don't. But I tell you what, I know somebody that does. Let me walk you over there. Or look over there, see the big sign that has the big leopard gecko on it. Yeah. That's Hunter Exotics. Walk over there. He's a great guy. And I'll do that throughout the show. And I know that other vendors are doing the same thing with me or other vendors as well. I think that setting a good example like that just kind of brings the whole community up a notch. And I'm not saying that I'm doing that. I'm saying that shows like Dylan and Brittany are bringing the right people, the right vendors, the right attitudes to a show like that and forming. I really think that it's a community that works so well together that we're all examples.
Right.
I think that we have to show ourselves as examples every single show and do the right thing. And I think that then we hold each other at a certain standard.
Yeah.
I know that there was a show a little bit ago where there was some concerns about an animal being flipped, and it was talked about and it was resolved and we all moved on. And we, I'm sure that were some things tweaked, but the point being that we worked it out as a community instead of you did something really bad. I don't think there was anything like that. I think there was like, let's talk about it. Okay, let's decide and let's move on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, say that that's the Midwest influence. That's like, I don't know, like, but I've said that before. Like, I feel like it's like the whole like Wisconsin nice, Minnesota nice thing. Like, you go to Scaled Up and you get that. Like, you ain't gonna get the WWE match or something.
We should do that though. We should do that on
video. Yeah. That is something. So we've talked about it as we go into season 2 for the Tread. I'll pitch that out here right now. So it's in the public since we have a great gecko audience. So I was talking with Dylan. I know I was talking with Gary about it too. And I said, it would be really cool if we did a Tread episode in season 2 where we call it the Gecko Tag Team Championship. So we had 3 teams of breeders. So we had 2 leopard gecko breeders, 2, whether it be leechies or gargoyle breeders, and another 2 like crusty breeders, something. And we basically had it where we had it like straight up debate style, go for the gold, go for the trophy. We'd have a championship belt for the winner, the tag team winners. They get to keep it. They'd bring it to the shows. It's a talking point for people at the shows. Hey, what's that for? What's that sitting on your table? And then it becomes kind of a consistent thing. So that's actually something that we have thought about. So maybe. So
is it a debate or is it a physical match? Because I could be the macho man. I'll take you on.
It'll be a debate, I think. As much as I think, yeah, I know. I mean, I might have to leave the physical match to the ball python folks because I believe there's supposed to be. I forget who it is, but a couple of the guys who are in like mixed martial arts and stuff supposed to be MMA fights for raising for US ARC. So I can't steal their thunder there.
Oh, in that case, let's just do the debate thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're the gecko side of.
Thought.
Hey, Charlie, how's it going? So, folks, if you haven't seen, Charlie's someone that's going to be on here too as well. So if you ever want to learn about awesome things like genetic testing with ball pythons, he's going to be coming up here in a few weeks as well.
Nice.
But I mean, kind of also, I mean, I think obviously we talked a little bit about some of your favorite projects, new projects, Supreme Gecko as a whole, kind of the Wisconsin community and stuff. I think the other piece, we really haven't touched on, I don't know if maybe a lot of folks, because I see some of them on here and I know that they're your people. I know that they know you and they're in some of the YouTube sessions as well that I'm in. But I mean, you've established, I would say, a very strong, at least from my perspective, YouTube following channel, being able to kind of drive what I would call an impact as far as both from keeping and husbandry to just information about geckos and isopods. I mean, you mentioned it a little bit. Obviously, there was the start, then there was kind of the stop, and then kind of the restart with it. What do you see as kind of, your piece in a sense for it comes to the reptile community? Because I think that there's so many people, obviously, are always making videos. I guess what's your end goal with them? What are you hoping that your users, the people who might watch, what are you hoping that they get out of it, they feel out of it or feel connected to it? What's kind of the goal, the thought process that goes into that?
I think it's changed over the years. I think, and we talk about this in the collab. We were talking about the collab project group that is every other Thursday, where we bring a bunch of small time YouTube creators together and we talk about each other's channels and videos and try to help each other improve. But, I think going all the way back to, 10 years ago, 12 years ago when I started, oh my gosh, were the videos bad. Going back 4 years ago, my purpose was solely to offer information on YouTube. So I remember this vividly. I went out and I bought a pair of geckos, Hemidactylus tridrus, the termite geckos, and went online to see any information. Let me check to see how you care for these animals and what they eat and this and that.
Right.
And literally there were 4 20-second to 30-second clips of the gecko in an enclosure. You can't tell anything about the enclosure and eating a cricket. No narrative over how to keep them or anything like that. And got done watching every single one of those, and I went to myself, this stinks. We've got to have information about some of these rare geckos. So that was the whole purpose of starting YouTube back up again 4 years ago. And my whole intent was to create evergreen content, long form evergreen content, meaning, if somebody 4 or 5 years from now gets this gecko, they can go back to that Supreme Gecko place and look up how to care for Nephurus levis, the knobtail gecko, or this termite gecko, or whatever it is.
Right.
And my whole intent, though, as it grew, as the channel grew and the videos grew, or gained a little bit of momentum. And oh my gosh, I'm not a big YouTuber or even medium. I'm still a small YouTuber. But as we move forward, as we progressed, it was both education, and I wanted to bring some levity to the whole process and make people smile once in a while. And if it was smiling at me for doing silly things or dumb things, gosh, I put these two animals together and they fought and I had to separate them. Silly me. Learn from my mistakes so you don't make the same mistakes. I just wanted something that, wasn't just education. It was, more, I don't want to say entertaining, but at least it was, halfway fun to watch. So that was my whole goal.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, obviously, I've watched even, some of your videos. I don't keep geckos, but I still watch them just because of the entertainment factor. I just being honest, with that one, what really kicked it off, I think, was the one time when you were mentioning the thing about the Viper Geckos. So I had to start going back through and trying to find the Viper Gecko episode.
The Viper Gecko video where I didn't show the
Viper
Geckos.
Gecko. Yeah, I thought about that on the hype reel. I thought about like featuring the Viper Gecko and just have an outline, but
nobody knows what this is because Wally doesn't explain.
But yeah, I mean, so I know you're across obviously all the different Wisconsin shows. We always see you, I think every Wisconsin show, Sewerfest, Jansville, all the scaled ups. Do you I know you visit like NARBC and stuff because I've seen your videos when you go to NARBC, but do you do any shows outside of the state? Have you done any shows? What are your kind of thoughts on that?
We used to do Tinley. We used to do Scott Smith's all animal show. It was actually Lee Watson's all animal show years ago. This was 50 or 60. No, it wasn't that long ago. It was about 20 years ago. We started with Madison, then we were doing the Lee Watson all animal, and then Scott Smith took it over when we unfortunately lost Lee years later. But I was doing those Illinois shows. There was a Lake County reptile show that ran for a couple of years and didn't. I don't do any Illinois shows right now simply because Tinley is hard to get into.
Right.
And I haven't, as I said earlier, I kind of got out of it because of work. And then I'm just now getting to the point where I actually have animals that I could bring to a bigger show like that in quantity. I've always felt bad if I bring, 20 animals to put on the table. I want, like when I was doing Tinley years ago, I would have, 2 tables full, but I would have like 4 boxes under the table of animals. And, we would bring them out as other animals sold.
Right.
So Scott Smith's show is a little over 2.5 hours, about 2.5 hours away. So we don't do that one anymore, unfortunately.
That used to be the one every other weekend.
Every other weekend.
That was twice a month we drove down.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. But we'll probably do Tinley, in the near future. But Schaumburg, but the Wisconsin shows are we're doing more and more, and it's not a money thing, but we're doing more and more sales online.
Yeah.
So that's taking away a lot of the animals that
would be on the
if I didn't do the online, I'd have a lot more animals to then have to do a Tinley show or something like that.
Yeah.
I might do we've been thinking about doing a St. Louis show.
Okay.
We've been thinking about doing Minnesota. I wouldn't mind at some point, once we get back the quantity of animals, I wouldn't mind, flying to maybe Pomona or Dayton or something like that. Maybe after a couple of years.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can say from my perspective, obviously, this year I keep upping every single year. It's a grind. I enjoy the road shows. Where it's not enjoyable is like when you have that bad show and you're like, and I have 8 hours to drive home.
and I have 2 hours of put away. And then tomorrow I have another 2 or 3 hours of just cleanup.
Don't even get me started with put away. I always tell people always go like, so is it the setup or is it the put away? I'm like, no, put away takes like 3 times longer than getting prepped for a show. I know I can't speak obviously on your side with the geckos, but I know with the snakes, I could probably get every snake packed, ready to go in usually about an hour and a half. But when I'm going home, I feel like it's like a 4 to 5 hour process packing them and then putting them back into quarantine and everything. So
the one thing that really helps me with a show is Nanette. I've done in the past, we were doing shows with my oldest son, who's a great salesman. But he's too much like me. At the end of the show, I'm talking to people and, oh my gosh, it's 4 or 5 o'clock or whenever the show ends. And I'm talking to people still and everybody starts cleaning up. And Christopher and I are the same way. Okay, time to clean up, time to leave. We've got to get on the road. So we'll just kind of like from one end of the table into boxes, just kind of sweep everything into a box. So the net has helped a lot with that where, we can be way more organized. The electric stuff goes in an electric box and the animals go into animal boxes. It's not just, crust the gecko diet and some geckos and everything's just willy-nilly. So you've saved, our lives with just being more organized.
When I get ready to pack again.
Yeah. No, definitely. I'll throw it out there because I know we're getting right around that time. So if folks didn't see on the scaled up discussion, and if you haven't seen from the previous episodes, we've been giving away tickets.
Yeah.
We changed it this week, and I was really excited about it. I thought people were going to submit videos. We were going to put the video on the screen. Unfortunately, no one sent in and submitted a video, which was very disappointing because me and Wally were going to hopefully vote on which one, but there was no one that submitted a video. So I will throw it out there here before I kick off our little promotion here. Do people want to win some free VIP tickets to Scaled Up? Think about it.
Yeah.
Worst
As
case,
Macho Man would say, "Oh yeah."
worst case scenario, it's free tickets to go bug Wally about waffles.
Do it. Bring it on.
So
I'll talk to you for an hour about waffles.
So let's kick off this little promo here and see if anyone wants to win some tickets. Alrighty, folks. So if you haven't noticed from previous sessions, to be able to win these tickets, you have to have been paying attention earlier in the episode.
Oh,
If you didn't, it might be hard. If you
I
really
wasn't
know,
paying attention.
if you really know Wally, you might already still know the answer. Wally mentioned one very specific species. While he mentions that he loves all of his species, there is one that is very fond to his heart that he picked as his favorite that he mentioned on the show. If someone mentions it in the chat, the first person to mention it will get these 2 scaled up VIP passes that can be used at any of the scaled up locations here this year for any show. So if anyone wants to get a free set of tickets, think about it. Date day on a Sunday.
The answer is, here's the answer.
I already knew that.
Oh, you already know the answer? Oh.
Look at that.
I think Rochelle.
I think they have to put the full genus and
don't do
species
that.
name. I don't think Rochelle has won yet.
Don't do that.
Corey, you haven't won. You need the genus and species name. Come on.
Well, you're
Weak.
being
Well, it's either Rochelle or Cassandra. I'm gonna
Rochelle.
There we go.
Yeah.
So Rochelle, I got 2 tickets. So what you can do is either A, if you're going to a scaled up show, you can go at the will call and I will have your tickets. B, the other thing that you can do is you can email my podcast email right there and say, hey, send me the tickets. I'll send them in the mail out to you. I still got to send out last week's the tickets from the other week. I got to send those out as well. But, I'll send those out to you. And like I said, you can use them at any show for a VIP. You can go bug Wally. You can go buy some Pikas. So, hey, there you go. So, feel free, obviously to reach out. Let me know how you want your tickets. And they'll have them for you. Like I said, either at will call or we'll ship them out to you. But, congratulations. That's what it's all about. Getting people to the scaled up shows, getting people to know all these wonderful vendors, and getting people to eat some waffles.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Rachel is passing. I'm not sure if she's able to go or not in the area.
Yeah, Rochelle, are you passing to Cassandra then? Are you saying you're handing over the winner to Cassandra? Just want to make sure here.
Cool.
All righty. So So Cassandra, you have you've won a set of scaled up VIP tickets. Can be used at any of our scaled up show locations here this year. So again, feel free to shoot me an email here. Let me know how you want tickets. Otherwise, you can go to a scaled up show, say, hey, I won these on the Tread podcast, a set of scaled up VIP tickets. And we will gladly hand you a set of VIP tickets. You got 2 of them, not 1, but 2. So you can take a friend, you can take your significant other, your partner, or you can use and go to 2 shows. So, hey, there you go. Congratulations.
Fantastic. Nice. And I just want to point out that Frank has won too. Frank, if you give me a day advance for the scaled up show, I will make sure that there's a plate of waffles with your choice of syrup available to you at the show when you get there.
Let's get carried away.
So you've got that going for you.
Look at that. Wally just upped the ante right there.
There you go.
So I always like finishing. Too slow to. Do we want to get into details on that one?
No,
Oh, Frank.
just move on.
Yeah, we never meet this guy in person.
I am a terrible dancer. I just the world's worst. So
You and me.
nah.
But so I always like kind of when I'm wrapping up and kind of going towards like those last 15 minutes in the show, looking and kind of at, if you have either, like a favorite show memory, or a couple of them, I think those are always ones just kind of nice to kind of hear, obviously, from your perspective, either something that you thought was, whether it was funny, whether it was a great show, whether it was like one of those like touching, feel good moments, whatever it might have been, you made someone's day. I guess what's one that, kind of sticks out in your mind, or a couple that stick out in your mind from all your years of doing this?
Well, I love the Halloween shows because people dress up for Halloween.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So I'll have to dress up, obviously, this Halloween as Macho Man. But, when you say favorite memory, it's hard because every single show, I feel like I have a favorite memory. Every single show, and I've given this example before, but I've got to give it here, and I'll keep it short. Every single show, we have a family stop by the table, and they'll go talk geckos. What are these? What are these? And eventually, one of us will say, have you ever held a gecko before? Right. And you can literally see the thought process in mom and dad's minds kind of going, yeah, but I'm not going to. No. Should I say no? Should I say yes? And then I don't have to. And the kids are like, I want to hold a gecko. I want to hold a gecko. And the moms and dads are kind of taking that half step back. So now it's kind of, in my mind, it's a game. The game starts, that's where I see the hesitation in mom or dad. And the kids are like, open up and hold two hands, and I'm right here and back and forth. How does it feel? Oh, it feels so cool. Mom, dad, would you like to hold a gecko? And you can see that sometimes they'll go, yeah, sure, I'll hold. And that's a win right there. Other times they're like, I'm really afraid of, and I don't want. And then it's okay. Here's what's going to happen. If you're okay with this, I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to hold it like this, and just the tail. Do you want to and I'll kind of hold it not out to them, but I'll hold it kind of close, in between. Do you want to just touch the tail? And sometimes they'll touch the tail and go, oh, that's not bad. I was kind of thinking it would be slimy like a snake.
Yeah.
I thought it wouldn't be like that. I'll say, well, here, do you want to just touch the body? And half the time, by the end of the process, mom or dad are holding the gecko and just going, this is pretty cool. That's a win. That makes the whole show. And I bet you every other vendor will say the exact same thing. If they're showing off their animals and you have somebody that's never held an animal before, actually hold an animal and just get introduced to that whole process, to almost like they're getting a little closer to nature in a way. That's a win.
Yeah.
That's a memory.
No, definitely. And Cassandra, I'm going to throw that right back on the screen there for you. So right up on the screen there. So the treadpodcast@gmail.com. So I'll keep that up there for a bit just so you don't miss that. But I think for me, obviously I think every show is different. I always kind of break it down, and I always tell people, I'm like, every show, I'm like, there's always something funny or unexpected that happens, whether it's with you or with another vendor or a combination, or someone cracks some type of a joke or something funny always happens or unexpected. Whether I think it was last year. I know it was one of the Green Bays. It was funny. I bought a snake from one of the other vendors there. And it was just, it was just funny there. Cause snake, poops in your hand and stuff. If you deal with them all the time, it's like, whatever, but it's one of those things because there was this trend last year. There was like 2 or 3 snakes that I bought, and they were all bought at shows, and every single one just kept pooping in my hand every single time. So that's like, I always joke with people. I was like, that's how I know it's going to be mine, because it's going to poop in my hand. So, I feel like you always have something like that like is unexpected. You always have that feel good moment. And then I think, like you referenced, earlier, that community piece where you're referencing, other vendors, giving those referrals and whatnot. I look at last Green Bay, DNA Reptilia, if you're still here, thank you. We were chatting right before the show, and there was a VIP person right around when VIP was starting talking about one of the genes, the ball pythons. He's like, well, no, that's the guy you want to talk to about acid. that's the guy you want to talk to about the acid gene, you know. And
Yeah.
while it didn't create a sale, you know, for me that day, it created the conversation, it created the connection point that, you know, obviously you look to, maybe it's the next show or 2 months from now or 6 months. It's still, it drives that customer connection. It's building everyone else's, you know, customer base. So yeah, I mean, that's you know, I think one of the unique things, I just, you know I harp on this a lot with Wisconsin, but you know, really, I mean, from a state perspective, I mean, I know well, you're a Bears fan too, but I was gonna say, I know I'm a Bears fan, but you know, you Packers fans, you really know how to welcome folks. So you know, from my side, I mean, it's been awesome. But
as long as you don't mention that you're a Bears fan to some of them, they're very welcoming.
I was joking with Dylan. I think I forget what it was. It was like maybe a week or two ago, and I was telling him, growing up, my favorite color was green. And my aunt and uncle bought me a winter jacket one year. And I don't think that they realized, but it was a Packers jacket. So I was like the weird kid in school because my parents were like, well, you can't put the jacket to waste. Like, you got to wear it. Your aunt and uncle got it for you. So I was wearing a green Packers jacket, but then I had Bears gloves and a Bears like winter like stocking cap. And like, I remember getting stopped in the supermarket by some old guy, like, and he was like, you can't like both teams. You have to pick a side. And I was like, you know, I'm like 5 at this point. So I'm like, I don't know what this means.
You will when you get older.
Exactly. I'll throw it out here though. I mean, kind of going into like the last, you know, 8-10 minutes here of the show. I mean, folks, if you've got, you know, questions for Wally, if you've got stories that you want to bring up about an experience with Wally, you know, whether it be,
that could be bad.
around a good experience with Wally.
Okay. Yes.
Let's keep it PG, folks.
Yes.
This is a family-friendly show, or we try to.
Nanette's back here just typing away. Just I'll share an experience with Wally. You had mentioned one of my favorite memories, and this kind of slipped my mind, but I'll bring it up now. And it's with Dylan, with Scaled Up, obviously. And we were at another show, and he came over and he said, we were talking about something. I don't even know what started this, but he said something about, yeah, I might get a tarantula at some point. I've been looking at them, and we talked for another probably 5 minutes. And at the end, and we were kind of at the end of the conversation. I looked over at Nanette or Brittany, or maybe both of them, and I said, "Oh, I need my phone because I'm going to video Dylan walking over to this table and holding a tarantula for the first time in his life." and I was joking, and afterwards I kind of felt like I put him on the spot. But he goes, "Yeah, I'll do that," just like that. So walked over and he held a tarantula for the first time, and I was able to record it. And so that was a really huge, fun thing to do for me. And now they have spiders. Yeah.
No, right. Yeah. I mean, that's been, you know, another thing, important life lesson. You got an important life lesson to share with everyone?
An important life lesson.
An important life lesson. Yes, I do. And I've mentioned this in chats on YouTube before. I'll go back to about 20 years ago when everything was forums. Everything was in forums. Forum, a board where you talk and then you leave and then you come back the next day and you talk some more. Somebody was asking about and this is after I'd been keeping leopard geckos for a couple of years, and somebody was asking about the hot spot for leopard geckos. And I came on and I said something like, the hot spot should be 110 degrees. This is my experience. And I don't know if I caught it by the next day or I think Julie did. Julie Bergman of leopardgecko.com now took over for Ron Trumper, and she caught it and she treated me so nice. It stayed with me obviously for 20 years. Yeah. And she came on and she said she didn't do that's not what you should be doing with leopard geckos. 110 degrees will kill the animals. You shouldn't keep leopard geckos. She came on and said, Wally, you mistyped. Of course, you meant 90 degrees. Leopard geckos should be kept with a hot spot of about 90 degrees. Thanks for the question, Cindy, or whatever. Yeah. And thanks for the answer, Wally. I know you have tons of experience and just mistyped. I was like, man, she could have just raked me for that. And she was the nicest person. So that dictates to me, if I can't say something nice in a conversation about reptiles online, then I'll bail out of the conversation if I can't say it, something constructive and not, put somebody down. So
Yeah. I got to bring this up. Dylan's like, and now we have 10 tarantulas.
Sorry, Brittany.
sorry, Brittany. Sorry for that. My bad.
Here's an interesting one. If Wally could take Nanette out to dinner, but it's based on his preferences, what kind of dinner would they enjoy? Frank says grilled snake dinner.
Grilled snake.
Not funny, Frank.
But it's based on my preferences.
Your preference.
Oh my gosh. I have such a narrow view. Texas Roadhouse is one of my favorites, but I know that Nanette likes that too. Steak and Shake. Now that's way crazy sounding because it's a little plastic fork, and I love Steak and Shake. I've always, since the very first time I had Steak and Shake, I've loved it. So that would probably be it. I just love the taste. I had a lot of work when I was working in Cincinnati, and we'd go out for a 3-way chili all the time. Now, Steak and Shake isn't that quality, but it just has that taste, and I just love it. So, Steak and Shake, is that a good answer? I don't know.
Hey, I don't think there's no wrong answers here. There we go. Cassandra, if you could breed to two types of geckos together, what would they be and why?
2 types.
So
I would breed a Periodora picta to a super hypo tangerine carrot tail leopard gecko. I want to see a Periodora picta as orange as a brand new basketball. That's what I want to see.
What are we calling the creation?
Oh my gosh. Perio Leo. Perio.
No.
Air Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I love it.
But I mean, we're closing out here. We're getting to these last 3 minutes. I mean, if anyone's got a last second Wally story, last second Wally question, that's PG. Again, keep it PG, folks. We had some interesting ones in the beginning of the season around people's fingers, so let's not go down those roads. There was a bunch of jokes with Troy around his fingers. People make fun of him because he's got really big fingers. So that's a long story.
like sausage fingers.
Yeah, like sausage fingers. But I thought all guys just had sausage fingers. But
I thought so too.
Apparently, in the ball python community, sausage fingers must be a no-no or something. So here we go.
Okay.
Wally, you mentioned way earlier in the conversation about helping people when they needed it. I can attest to that. And thank you so much. It means a lot. From Mesopods and More and me.
That is Steve-O. And Steve-O is a good friend. We met this weekend. We actually, Nanette and I and Crystal drove up to Michigan, Holland. 6 hours for you. I took it down to 4 hours on our drive back. But we met up with Steve. And unfortunately, we didn't have much time to talk. Rain, weather, and everything was going on. So Steve's a good friend, and I greatly appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah. And JP Lizard's here. Just wanted to say that I admire Wally, and I'm very thankful for his advice and his support.
My pleasure, entirely. That's what I'm here for.
Man, I think we gotta end with this question. This is a hot take. Is Crystal taking over Supreme Gecko? I think Cassandra's already retiring you. You're retiring from retiring.
Yeah, I should be retired, I think, with some of the decisions I sometimes make. If you don't know, Crystal is our 11-year-old granddaughter, going on 22. No, Crystal is not taking over Supreme Gecko. Crystal is already taken over Supreme Gecko. I am relegated to main dishwasher and gecko poop cleaner. She makes all the key decisions in the facility. So it's a done deal.
Last week we had a meeting with her teachers, and she's already told them she's got a job. She's got the business. They wanted to know what it was all about.
But
she will take over.
I mean, from my side, I mean, obviously, oh, come on, Red Wings fans.
Come on.
Get that out of here.
Can I be an admin and can I block him? How do I block him? I'm going to figure out how to block him.
We could put them in timeout.
Put them in no,
But we're hitting right around that 9 o'clock Central Time. Wally needs to go to bed or clean a lot more
I got
gecko
homework.
poop. So, I mean, I just want to, again, from my side, with Nick Kerskevich, host of the Tread, I mean, I appreciate it, Wally. I mean, from, everyone, if you don't know Wally, get to know Wally, shoot him a message, purposely go to a show that he's going to be at. The next show you're going to be at is, I think, this weekend, Janesville, or right?
Janesville is Sunday.
Janesville is Sunday.
I don't keep track of any of this information. I have it on the webpage, but more importantly, like on Wednesdays, I go to Nanette and I say, do we have a show this weekend? Because I'm sure I have to do something to prepare. Seriously, I just can't keep up with it anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, folks, like I said, if you didn't know Wally, reach out. I mean, he's a resource of information from everything from geckos to even just brand building, YouTube. From my side, as I've been building, my YouTube channel now and kind of going on that, he's been a huge resource and help from that side as I continue on this endeavor. So, from my perspective, I just, really appreciate him being on, sharing some of his experiences across, kind of the community here. And I'll leave it over to you before we kind of wrap it up here and, send everyone off on their wonderful Wednesday evening. Anything you want to, say to the group?
I guess I would like to say, I sometimes gloss over this, but I want to thank everybody for being so positive. Everybody that I see here, every conversation that I see from these folks is positive and it's building. It's not going after somebody. I don't see conversations from anybody in the chat that is trying to bring somebody else down. Everything is building. And if we can just do that, I think this whole community would be a better place. And people would enjoy talking on Facebook again.
Yeah. All righty, folks. I will see you all next Wednesday with DNA Reptilia, another one of our wonderful scaled up vendors. So I will see y'all soon. Take care.
Right.
Bye-bye.